Yes, 3, 2, 1. All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Good evening to everyone. Thank you very much for joining our discussion today. My name is Deji Yesufu. I'm reaching you from Ibadan, the city of Ibadan. The pastor of Providence Reformed Baptist Church, a missionary pastor to the city, as we try to plant a Christian church here. You're welcome to uh, what's the name of our program now? Reform Nigeria Television, where we share themes on Christian gospel and the person of Christ generally. And today we have a guest on in the studio. The name of our guest is Ayo Adeyanju. Ayo is a very good friend of mine. He's a childhood friend. Okay, and during the week, he sent me an article. I said, "This is the first article he's publishing," and he sent it to me, and I said, "Ayo, you have to be on my program to come and talk about this article," and he very graciously accepted. I should actually commend him for that because many times I reach out to people, I say, "Come and talk about something," and they say they can't. Why? They don't. They want to be anonymous. If you want to be anonymous, why did you make the statement public? But Ayo is different. So thank you very much, Ayo, for coming. If you want to say hello to our guests, I mean to our people
It's a
here.
pleasure being here, DJ. Anytime. It's always a pleasure. It's been a pleasure watching all the things you do. And my prayers God will continue to bless you and the good work you're doing. And obviously, yeah, my childhood friend, if you say I should come on your show, I don't have any choice. I have to come on your show.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to do this properly. I'm going to share. Okay, not share. I'm going to just read Ayo's profile. I'm going to talk to our guest about Ayo. Can the guest still see me? Because I'm open to Microsoft Word right now. I think they can. Yes. Okay. So I'm just going to read Ayo's profile. Ayo Ade was born in Zaria, Kaduna State, to the late Professor J.B. Adeyanju and Professor Mrs. F.B. Adeyanju. Professor Adeyanju, that's Ayo's dad, was one of the pioneer of veterinary medicine doctors in Nigeria. He also worked in Zimbabwe. Professor Adeyanju, that's Ayo's mom, is I think even pioneer PhD, that physical health and education
Yeah.
person in Zaria, and he's the son of two professors. Ayo counts himself lucky to have three siblings. His younger sibling, Dr. Yetunde Arigbede, Mr. Shegun Adeyanju, and Mrs. Toyin Ajetumobi. Ayo is happily married to Mrs. Ifelola Adeyanju, and together they have a wonderful daughter called Araoluwa. Ayo attended ABU Staff School for his primary education before moving to BS Gindiri, where he spent only 1 year in his GSS 1. He later transferred to Command Secondary School, Jos, where he completed his secondary school education. Ayo Ade pursued a degree in electrical engineering at Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. During his NYSC in Lagos, Nigeria, Ayo earned a diploma in script writing, where he excelled as one of the top students in his set, leading to his first industry job with Mr. Muritala Sule. Ayoade's career began as a production assistant at MS Global, where he worked for over a year before being hired as a producer for mass media partners. During his time there, he produced and directed various shows, including Nigerian International, Henneken Champion Planet, and many others. He later transitioned to writing and research. Over the years, Ayoade has effortlessly donned the hearts of producer, writer, and director, amassing over a decade of professional experience, crafting content for various entertainment platforms. As a seasoned screenwriter, his portfolio boasts credits on both local and international TV shows, including Mnet's Tinsel, Africa's longest running soap opera, and Ebony's Life Ojo's in the House. Ayade is the creative force behind Africa's Magic Hustle and served as the story editor for the critically acclaimed telenovela Battleground. He also contributed his talents to the award-winning TV series MTV Sugar. In 2023, Ayoade served as a story editor for Africa Magic's Itura, which won an award at the 2024 African Magic Viewers' Choice Awards. His influence extends to the audio realm also, where he has penned and edited captivating stories for the BBC's longest running radio play, titled Story Story, a testament to his skill and recognition in the industry. Ayade was selected as one of the two Nigerian screenwriters for the inaugural Netflix Realness Institute episodic lab program in 2021. In 2023, Ayade served as the story editor for a Netflix show currently in development, showcasing his contributions to global storytelling. Continuing this trajectory, in 2024, Ayade holds the position of script editor for another Netflix show currently in development, while specific titles remain confidential due to NDAs, that's non-disclosures agreement. Ayade's engagement underscores his valuable role in shaping narrative for a global audience. So this is the Ayade that is our guest today. Thank you very much, Ayo, for joining up with our discussion. God bless you so much. I was going to say that
Thank you.
I mean you actually have no choice than to have all this record because you are the son of two professors. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I count myself lucky. I think I was privileged to have parents that raised me the right way, and I think in our house it was very, very important for us to be good at what you do. They taught me to apply myself. So basically, I'm really just I'm grateful. Concerning the accolades, I just think I just try. Obviously, there's God's grace there, so I try as much as possible just to do my very best, and God has been faithful. So yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much for that. Now we're going to go to a very important question, and this is how we're going to start our program. Ayo, can you tell us how you met our Lord Jesus Christ? Very briefly, how did you become a Christian? Very briefly.
Okay, I think like when they ask that question, I think it's a very complicated question.
Yes.
So if it's in terms of Christ, sorry, please hold on, excuse me.
I guess that's a phone call or something.
So are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here.
So I think when I was in JSS1, I think that was the first time I ever answered to an altar call. So if you ask me when did I meet Christ, yes. But it's complicated because I feel that who I was then and the idea of giving my life to Christ as a JSS1 student when I was just like 11, 12 years old is going to be different from who I am now as a man and dedicating my life to Christ. So sometimes when people ask me, how do I meet Christ? I feel that every morning when I wake up, I meet Christ. I give my life to Christ every day. It's like a daily commitment. The idea of carrying your cross every day.
Yes.
So I always feel that, and by the time you go through life and you see that every day, that's why Jesus Christ said that. Do not worry about tomorrow, but just every day has its own wahala.
Yes.
To paraphrase it. So I just feel that every day, if you think about the past, sometimes and you're saying, I gave my life to Christ, so and so, there's ego involved because it's like you're amassing the amount of years in which I've been a Christian.
Exactly.
So I can't focus on the past. I can't think about the future that this is the kind of person I'm going to be in the future because that's where pride is, because it might mean I'm focusing on my own abilities. So all I focus on is today because it's only today I know there is, by God's grace. There'll be tomorrow, but today is the day I know I'm serving Christ. I've dedicated my life to Christ. When tomorrow comes again, we'll deal with it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that perspective. I always look at people and they say that I gave my life to Christ on the 23rd of October, 1976. And I'm just looking at these people. Because the truth of the matter is that the Lord manifests himself to people in different ways. You understand? And this one is probably one other way that I probably have not even seen before. And I always try to ask people to tell us how they met the Lord because it may help another person to appreciate how to meet the Lord, or maybe they may have met the Lord, but they didn't even know. But by hearing the testimony of another person, they're encouraged to know that now they are affirming our faith in the Lord. So thank you very much. Now we are going to be discussing your article that is titled Nigeria Has a Spiritual Problem. Okay, and for us to discuss that article, I want to ask one more, I mean, two more questions. But one of those questions is, when we were growing up in Zaria, we had an experience which was life shaping for me, and I guess also for you too. So we had this, what did they call it? Uncle Osei. You know, he was a Ghanaian man, and in those days, Ghanaians were quite a number of them in Nigeria. A lot of them left eventually, you know. But in
Yeah.
those days, Uncle Say came to northern Nigeria, to Zaria, to live, and he basically came as a teacher, and he wasn't working with government or anything. He was working privately. So he used to teach privately, and at the same time, he used to have these lessons. But there was something else he did in Area G. Then he created a Bible study where he started to teach us the Bible and all of that. And so a lot of parents allowed their children to go to these Bible studies. And we all used to amass ourselves. And I'm talking about 1990, 1991. You know, we used to go gather ourselves there, we'll go there and all of that. Until something happened. Uncle Oseyi, who had a Pentecostal background, you know, decided to baptize all of us in the Holy Spirit. And some of us spoke in tongues and so on, you know. And I remember that you guys got back home and you told your dad, and your dad said, "Oh yeah, Otita, that's the end." Now, I mean, the man felt so betrayed. Eventually, that incident led to his closing down the Bible study, and then eventually he's leaving Nigeria because I think he even got into a scandal in the neighborhood then, and he left. You know, but I mean, I that was my first experience with Pentecostalism. I became a Christian later on, you know, in the university, and then I mean, it was a Pentecostal phenomenon that I followed, you know, until 2013, when I stopped speaking in tongues. I just became convinced because throughout the time I was speaking in tongues, I used to follow Paul's injunction in 1 Corinthians 14, or I think 12, where he said, oh yeah, I think it's 14. Say, he that speaks in tongues should ask for interpretation. So when I finished babbling the whole thing, I will now ask God, say, hey, please, what did I say? Oh, I need answers. You know, honestly, you won't believe it. The answer came. One day I became convinced that everything I'm saying is rubbish. If you want to pray to God, speak English or speak Yoruba. Okay, this thing is blah 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 is nonsense. So now the question I want to ask you, Ayo, is this: what did Professor Adeyanju see then that he stopped you guys? What was the influence? You know, he stopped you people from coming to the Sunday school then, and I mean, stopping that Pentecostal in this thing. So over to you, please. Before we go to your article.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So like with every parent, like the funny aspect is that what my dad went through now, I'm putting myself in his shoes. And I'm asking myself, will I do the same thing? I definitely will do the same thing. My daughter is not going anywhere where they're laying hands and trying to at that age,
That's right.
There's a keyword my dad always used to say. Hold on, please.
Okay.
So there's a sorry about that. There's a phrase my dad always used to say. He always used to talk about Goiana tragedies. If you have heard about Goiana tragedies, it's about a pastor that took some people. I think they even had their own island and all that. By the end of it all, the pastor convinced them after a while to commit suicide.
Yeah.
You understand? So my dad was always afraid of extremism when it comes to religion, especially when it gets out of hand. So that's what he was scared of. So he was like, first of all, we're naive, we don't know anything about the world, and then we went to go and meet this guy that's laying hands on us, So that's what he was scared of, and he was just like, you know what, when you're older, you can make the decisions, but for now, you can't be going there anymore because you're scared.
Yeah. That's right. My children went for a retreat this holidays, and they came back and they were saying that one of my sons spoke in tongues. I just looked at it. You'll get over it. It's a passing phase. You know, I didn't even bother them because they know my position on tongues. I didn't even bother. And then, of course, I'm not going to send them to the retreat again. You know, I'm father. When you people grow up, you make your decisions. You know, so that's it. I want to thank God for Professor Adeyanju. An excellent man, and Professor. Let me even say it in public. Professor Adeyanju influenced my marriage. Let me say it now so that the world it will be on record. Here was I in Ibadan. I want to get married to a beautiful. I married a daughter of a professor, Professor Olufemi, Professor Olufemi was former dean of students at the University of Ibadan, and then Professor Olufemi turns out to be a veterinary medicine person too. So when I went to him and I said, I want to marry your daughter. Number one, my mom is dead. She died in 2006. This is 2009. Okay, 2009, yeah, 2009. My father, who could step in, was not in Nigeria. He was living abroad. So my father-in-law was like, how will I carry my daughter and give you there's no parents? Well, you know what my father-in-law did? My father-in-law called your dad. Is your dad your father-in-law? So thank God, God bless Professor Olufemi. What's his name? Yeah, Professor Olufemi is late now, and even your dad. But he called your dad and said, please tell me about this family. And for some reason, your dad just said that they are a good family. Yeah, their father, he has this history with women, but they're a good family. Children were well brought up. They went to good schools. And honestly, Ayo, that is how my father-in-law released his daughter. So, I didn't plan to say this on air, but I want to say thank you very much to Professor Adeyanju for approving. In those days, before you give out your daughter, you go and find out from
you go and do investigation.
Exactly. That was the only thing he had. He was a veterinary medicine person. He knew Professor Adeyanju. And I mentioned it. I said, Professor Adeyanju was our neighbor in Zaria. And he got in touch with Professor Adeyanju. He didn't tell me. And I said, it's a good person. It's not a problem. And we thank God for that. Okay, last question before I read your article. I think I have a final question here. Yes. What is the situation with Calvary Baptist Church right now in Zaria? Before I even ask you to answer that question. When I finished school in 2002, I went for service. Then went to Lagos to look for job. Didn't find job. Came back to Zaria. Then we're not living in Reju. We're living in Hanwa. And then I was by myself. Somebody brought this set of tapes, 3 tapes, that was preached by Brother Billy Akoni. He preached it at Calvary Baptist Church. What's his name? Zaria, Samaru Zaria. And the title of the sermon were a series, but he took his text from Numbers 16:9, where Moses was telling the children of Aaron, he said, you people are a special people, that God has chosen you out of Israel to serve him and to minister to the people, and he did 3 days on one verse. Basically was saying that if you are called by God, you're called to serve people. You should sanctify yourself first and then serve the people. That sermon, along with a couple of other things, were what led me to the conviction that I was called to Christian ministry. I'm serious. So the question to you now, Ayo, is this. What is the situation with Calvary Baptist Church in Samaru Zaria? That's your local church.
Funny enough, like we were discussing earlier, I went there last year, December. Yes. And that's after a long, because I've not been to Zaria in a long while, but because of the pressures of the job, I just wanted time to decompress. So I went there. And funny enough, it has changed, but it hasn't changed. You know the way Zaria is. You can go there 5 years, it's still the same old people. Some people have left. We have a new pastor, he's vibrant. Concerning like the trend, like I said, the church program is almost still the same, but it's a different pastor. Obviously, everybody has moved. Like our mates are no longer there. It's our younger ones that are there now. But it's just gave me like, I still went there and I felt at home, Yeah. So concerning the trends of Pentecostalism, it's just Calvary Baptist Church. I don't think they are doing the extremes of what we obtain when we come to Lagos and all that. It's just basically Calvary Baptist Church. It's nice, it's warm.
Yeah, and there's this thing about Zaria, because we are living in the midst of Muslims and that threat of persecution. I think the church was burnt in 87, 88. Was it burnt? Was it one of the churches?
Yeah.
Yes. Because we've experienced that. The religion, the Christian religion you practice up north, it's not the Christian religion people are practicing down south. You take your God seriously, because honestly, one fanatic can just come kill you, and that's it. If you are not ready to meet the Lord, So I sense that about it. So I'm happy to hear that. Okay, so Ayo, we're going to read your article now. I'm going to
Yeah.
bring it up. And fortunately, I brought up this thing over, so it's coming up now. Just give me 1 minute. All right, so I think the audience can see it. That's the article. I'm going to read it. It's just a 5 minutes read, so I'll read it very quickly. Nigeria has a spiritual problem, and then he goes on to say, I agree. Now, he starts with a disclaimer. I might not even know what I'm talking about here, but out of sheer curiosity and a penchant for following trends, I find myself asking questions. All right, let's get real. Recently, a popular pastor declared that Nigeria's issue boils down to spiritual problems. According to him, the only way out is more prayers. And honestly, I'm on board with the whole Nigeria's got spiritual problem idea. I mean, if we take it from their teachings, whatever manifests itself in the physical started in the spiritual. So I ask myself, what exactly is a spiritual problem? To answer this, I'll turn to the Bible for some context on what a spiritual problem means for a nation. In the book of Kings, Israel's fortunes took a nosedive whenever the king decided to ditch God for Baal or some other wannabe deities. For example, King Ahab and Jezebel. Ahab's marriage to Jezebel, a fervent worshiper of Baal, led to widespread idolatry in Israel. The result? A devastating drought that caused severe hunger throughout the land. Now, picture our own leaders today, whining and dining in luxury spots, chasing pleasure while the rest of us struggle just to get by. Our preachers are jet setting in a private jets and flaunting the latest designer gear, while many Nigerians are left hungry. I know this all too well because my own stomach rumbles so loudly these days that I have to visit the hospital. My usual cheerful doctor impatiently confirmed that my mood swings and the loud growls in my stomach were due to hunger. I readily believed him because I easily recognized the source of his own mood swing and the frown on his face. It was hunger. But how did these kings turn to worship false gods? There were spiritual leaders who provided that option. Without Baal worshippers and the prophet of Baal, there would have been no one to mislead the king. Fast forward to Nigeria, and our spiritual leaders seem more interested in flaunting their latest bling than in saving souls. If following their teachings feels like we're just chasing after money rather than God, maybe we've got our own version of Baal right here, complete with flashy cars and private jets. Granted, some of the kings had prophets who worshiped the God of Israel, but when the king turned to Baal, these prophets often found themselves in serious trouble. Take Elijah, for instance. When he confronted King Ahab and Queen Jezebel over their Baal worship, Jezebel was so enraged that she threatened to have him killed. Elijah had to make a hasty escape, running for his life to Mount Horeb. Talk about a long distance runner. If I were a prophet living the soft life, I would probably keep quiet to avoid such drama. And since I'm no Eliud Kipchoge, that is a Kenyan runner, long distance runner. If I were to open a church and decide to attend, you will be on your own. Now it goes to another topic, subtopic. Is the pastor admitting responsibility? When the pastor says Nigeria's problem is spiritual, is he admitting responsibility for the issues Nigeria faces, either by leading our leaders to Baal or by remaining silent and not correcting them? I'm waiting for an answer. While I wait, another question comes to mind. If prayer alone was the answer, Nigeria would already be a paradise. We'll be showing Wakanda how it's done. Or, like Niger people would say, Wakanda will be learning from us. Instead, we seem to be drowning in a sea of unanswered prayers. Are Nigerians not praying enough, or do we just not know how to pray? Here's a quick history check. When Nigeria gained independence in 1960, the value of the naira was roughly 2 naira to $1. Back then, Nigeria was a different place. I'm not sure that our heroes like Nnamdi Azikiwe, Obafemi Awolowo, and Ahmadu Bello Bolo fought for our independence through prayer, fasting, and sleeping in church. Our colonizers didn't lead leave because any of our independence fighters kabashed all night and disturbed the peace. They left because of political and economic pressures. Let's not forget to thank the mosquitoes also. Let's all appreciate them and maybe stop using insecticide at least 1 month to say, at least for a month, so they can have their own little party. Still, the colonizers left. Fast forward to the explosion of prosperity preaching in the 1990s, and the naira was around 22 naira to $1. Fast forward again to the recent wave of insecurity, Boko Haram, Fulani herdsmen, kidnapping. And what's the naira worth now? About 1,500 naira to $1. We've prayed all through all this, yet the situation keeps deteriorating. Here's the deal. If prayer really worked, shouldn't we have seen some improvement by now? If we take the Bible literally, one prophet prayed and fire came down from heaven. Fire, oh, the prophet ordered a heavenly drone attack. Jesus prayed and healed the sick. Even some kings prayed to God for forgiveness, and God had mercy on them, delivering their nations from the enemy. So, are we praying for the wrong stuff, or do we simply not know how to pray? It's a question worth asking, because if we did know how to pray and prayer really worked, we would have solutions by now. And if it's about Nigerians praying hard, trust me, we are definitely on it. I know this firsthand because the church on my street doesn't let me sleep. Night vigil after night vigil, screaming to the heavens, singing at the top of their voices, kabashing and worshiping like there's no tomorrow. I doubt there's any Nigerian who hasn't been subjected to these relentless prayers. If praying harder was all it took, we should be living in a miracle land by now. The fictional country of Wakanda in the Marvel universe will be taking cues from us. Einstein said it best. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is insanity. Maybe it's not that we are not praying enough, but that we don't really know how to pray, or we are asking for the wrong things. If Nigerian Christianity were like a Fortune 500 company, we'll be pulling up the numbers, drawing charts, and analyzing why the prayer product isn't bringing in results. So where are the results in our nation? So what's the way forward? So what's next? It might be time to take a look at what we are really worshiping. Are we following spiritual leaders who genuinely guide us towards a higher purpose, or are they just leading us to chase after wealth and status? Like those ancient kings misled by false prophets, maybe we are in trouble not because we are not praying enough, but because we're being led in the wrong direction. If Nigeria truly has a spiritual problem, isn't it time we stop using prayer as an excuse to avoid taking real actions? Do we need spiritual leaders who prioritize righteousness over riches, and followers who demand more than just sermons about getting rich? Do we need leaders like Elijah, who will break long distance war records to escape the wrath of those in power when he points out their errors, or spiritual leaders who can call upon heavenly drones to strike to obliterate false prophet? Maybe it's time to get back to basics, faith and action, with a clear vision of what truly matters. Because let's face it, the last thing we need is to keep praying ourselves into another decade of chaos. The dollar to naira is now $1 to 1,005. Aya, thank you so much for that article. I want to stop sharing this. Thank you so much for that article. Let me just ask, before I ask the 4 questions I have in mind, what led you to write this article? Just tell our viewers, what led you to write it?
I think I'll like, as the article says, ever since when we're growing up and all that, it's been the same problems. I'm sure my dad and your dad, when they were talking about, they'll sit down, they'll complain about false castle, they'll complain about everything. It's always been there. And then even as spiritual leaders at that time, what they were asking us to do, to pray. But I think what forced me to write this article was when Bishop Adeboye came out on national TV and was saying that Nigeria has spiritual problems and we should pray. And I'm looking at this man because you're supposed to be a spiritual leader in this Nigeria. And I know that we look up to you. I feel, to me, even before the president, is a spiritual leader. This is the person that's supposed to point the president in the right direction he's going to go. And he just looks helpless there. We did we just finished a march to protest against the hardship in the country.
Yeah.
He did not come out. After the whole protest has happened, they sent us home. We shouldn't complain again. The man came. There was a march by Redeemed People, and they turned out en masse. If that same crowd came
Yeah.
out came out for that protest, I'm sure that the demands that we've been asking for would have changed.
Oh,
So
definitely.
I'm just puzzled as to what the silence is about, you know. So I'm just like, I don't really think at this point I agree with him. And funny enough, when I wrote that article, the scandal about his son collecting how many billions of naira from Kaduna State government contracts
Wow.
to repair a road had not yet come out. So the son collected money from Kaduna State government, billions to do how many kilometers of road, and he did not say complete the contract. And then they were now saying that he was going to court to tell people to cease and desist about it. So me, I'm just wondering that it's like they are playing a game. We're in a game that we don't even understand the rules.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is what made me to ask these questions, because I feel that as a spiritual leader, that's what I understand a spiritual the responsibility of a spiritual leader. Understand to be one thing, but I'm not saying it in this man and some other people.
Yeah.
So that is what
You,
made so it was like I was just venting when I wrote the article.
yeah. I'm thankful to you that you connected Baal worship to the prosperity gospel, because I saw this thing a long time ago, and it was in Zaria. I became convinced that Baal worship was the prosperity gospel. Before this Abel Damina thing even came, I became convinced of it. In fact, when I read the story of Jeroboam, the Bible says the king Jeroboam, the first king of Israel, the Bible keeps saying that every other king committed the same sin that Jeroboam did. I have a note that I wrote in Zaria then. Before Facebook, I used to write these private notes. I said, Benson Idahosa is the King Jeroboam of Pentecostalism. And all of them are following in his example. They are doing everything. When we're in Zaria, my late mom, before she traveled to America, she showed me there was a day Idahosa came on. My mom was Roman Catholic. Idahosa came on television and he was preaching. And my mom said, these people are the ones destroying this country. And I mean, the way she said it, and I somehow that statement stuck, because my mom left when I was 11 years old, and she made this statement when I was about 7 or 8, but that statement stuck, and I just kept it somewhere. Of course, when we joined the Pentecostal thing, the also were the one where, but eventually, I was reading scripture and I saw it. Benson Idahosa is Nigeria's Jeroboam, and all of them, all the nonsense they're doing today, they are all following in his path. But I don't want to debate this, except you all have a comment. I want to look at a comment you made in the article. It says this: I know this all too well because my own stomach rumbles so loudly these days that I had to visit the hospital. My usual cheerful doctor impatiently confirmed that my mood swings and the loud growl in my stomach was due to hunger. I readily believed him because I easily recognized the source of his own mood swings and the frown of his face. It was hunger. So that's the doctor. Please, can you tell us about the situation with Nigeria and the economic situation, or what you think about it, and how do you think we can weather it?
Well, I'm not an economist, and like I keep on saying, I come into everything with curiosity, even the spiritual. Even this article, you saw I was asking questions. I was
Yes.
not preferring solutions, but I was just asking questions for us to be able to think, to think our way out of it.
Hmm.
Like I said, Deji, when we're growing up, you know the state of the country. The same problems our parents are talking about are the same problems now. I have a daughter, you have kids. We are still talking about. We're still
Yes.
talking about capacity. We're still talking about choosing the petrol station. We're still talking about the weak currency we have compared to the dollar. And the trend it keeps on because like every year from the time we were kids up till now, inflation has been rising. It's because of inflation that now a naira is to a
Or a
naira is
dollar is to
to
1 5.
there was a contract I took last year, and the contract, the dollar, naira to a dollar was 1 naira to 750 naira last year. And
Mm.
within 6 months, the naira was now 1,500.
Hmm.
So, how was one complete that contract?
It's not possible.
Because what's happening now is that they give you money, but just because of economic situations, you already signed contract. The value of money you now need to complete that project has been halved.
Yes.
That's the economic situation. And the problem now is like if you go around before in Lagos, I can remember if you go to Zaria, there are all these Alemajes they used to beg. It's like a career for them, you know.
Yes.
But at least I know in the north they've been trying to clean that up.
Okay.
But now in Lagos, there are times when I go to workouts. Before there were years I used to go to workout. Nobody used to beg me, nothing.
Yeah.
But these
Yeah.
days, when I'm just jogging on the road, it's almost like it's no more a question of they're begging you, say I don't have, and they let you go. They
Yes.
beg you and they keep on following you. And just it's going to get to a stage where the insecurity increase. Not just all this not it's not all this not normal kidnapping and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
People just stealing just to be able to feed. There are a
Yes.
lot of hungry people out there, and that's what
Yes.
made me write the article. When you're hungry, when you've gone through hunger, when you see hunger in someone's eyes, you recognize it.
You
So
recognize it, yeah.
yeah, you
Somebody,
recognize. So yeah.
right, sorry.
So these days, like when I see people, people I come across, some people don't talk. Some people are, they have that. They don't want to bother you with their
Yes.
problems. You
Yes.
see, a lot of people are living lives of quite desperation because of this economic trend that we're going through,
Yeah.
and it's
It's
terrible.
yeah, it's crazy. Somebody said on Ireland, somebody said that the hunger that he's seeing in Nigeria is so bad. People go into ShopRite, they take hold of the bread on the shelf, they bite into it, and they put it back.
Yeah,
And then they go to the Coke section, they open it, they take a swig, they cover it, and they leave. He said he has never seen what is happening. And this thing that you talked about, this begging thing. You see somebody well dressed, everything looking okay, just needs transport money. He just needs to feed. You know, it's so bad. I'm just praying the Lord will show mercy to us. And I don't have any plans to leave this country, but I just pray God will do something. Because our leaders are King Haba here. Our spiritual pastors they are what they call it now. They are false prophets. It's just like the olden days Israel. You are going to say something, sorry.
yeah. You don't plan to leave Nigeria. Before I was of that mindset, but right now I've been humbled. If I have opportunity to leave, I will leave because it's not just. If you look at it, it's almost like right now the way things are going because of there are no structures in place for people to even be celebrated. There's no meritocracy again.
Hmm.
You understand? There's a lot of nepotism. You
Yes.
understand? So it doesn't matter if you're good at what you do or not. You know?
Yeah.
I just look around, there are a lot of people that are very qualified for jobs and all that, and they don't get the jobs. But
They don't get it.
just
Yeah.
because someone has connections somewhere, he knows one politician, he's getting jobs.
Hmm.
It's crazy. And that is why look at our doctors are leaving. So it has come to a point now where you go to hospitals, you don't see any doctors. So no matter the amount of money you have, God forbid, you need emergency medical attention. There are no
Hmm.
doctors because where have they gone to? They have gone to Dubai. They have gone to London. A friend of mine just recently relocated to the UK. And he said when he went to the hospital, almost all the doctors and nurses he was seeing were Nigerians. So we
Hmm.
train these people here. They become good at what they do. Our IT
Yeah.
specialists, they are by the day, by their droves, they're shipping out. So
Hmm.
it's not just a matter of like there's hunger in the land, but there's also lack of doctors in the land, lack
Hmm.
of professionals in the land. So that even if you have all the money in the world to make yourself comfortable in Nigeria, the
Yes.
basic amenities to make sure that you live a meaningful life here is scarce, except we turn things around. And it has
I,
to happen fast.
I agree with you. I agree. Nobody can convince anybody to stay in Nigeria. And whoever wants to jackpot has to jackpot, But speaking about hunger, this program is brought to you by our very able sponsors. People pay for the lighting, they pay for the generator we're using. There's a gentleman that owns Lakim um, Investment. He's the one helping us, and he has this advert that I want to play out. It's going to be just 57 seconds. I want to ask for our viewers to just hang on there and would please patronize him. It's a shopless facility in Lagos, Ikorodu, Lagos. If you're in Ikorodu, Lagos, you need a day or 2 or 3 days or even a month. Please patronize Lakim Investment. Okay, so please by all means patronize Lakim Investments
It
and
looks like a
put
really
some.
nice setup. Really nice setup.
Yes, yes. I stayed at the place in May for when I went to Lagos for a wedding, and
Oh,
it was a real holiday. I had 4 days there. I enjoyed myself thoroughly.
wow.
Ayo, I want to have, there's a second question I want to take from your article, but it's following this quote. Fast forward to Nigeria, and our spiritual leaders seem more interested in flaunting their latest bling than in saving souls. If following their teaching feels like we are just chasing after money rather than God, maybe we have got our own version of Baal right here, complete with flashy cars and private jets. So we have talked about this, we have touched on it, especially when we mentioned Oyedepo and Benson Idahosa. But my question now is, what do you think about this Abel Damina controversy? That is right at everybody seems to be talking. If Punch publishes a story, that is what is trending, So they've spoken about Abel Damina. What do you think about him?
What exactly? Because he spoke about a lot of things. Just ask me a question in specific
Okay,
about what
yes,
he
with regards to his criticism of the prosperity gospel,
said.
he's calling out pastors, in my own denomination, the Reformed Baptists, we are kind of critical with him because we feel that he's getting some of his doctrines wrong, But I keep telling my people, please be patient. But I just generally, what do you think about his? He's from Kaduna State, he's from Southern
Yeah, I
Zaria.
know. He says from Jos. He's that
No,
is
from Southern Zaria, Saminaka
okay.
South. In Kaduna State, but he went to
Okay, okay,
Benin
okay,
to do ministry. So just
okay.
if you have any idea, if not, we could just go to the next.
Concerning him, I mean, honestly, there are a lot of things he said that I agreed with, but there are some things he also said that I didn't agree with.
Mm,
But concerning this prosperity thing and his take on the prosperity thing, most of what he said I agree with. Most of it I agree with it.
yeah.
When you're talking about Baal, I've forgotten which because me I have not read the Bible in depthly. In the book of Kings, there was a king that the idol he made was a calf of gold. You understand? What does that mean? When you exalt a calf of gold, that's you exalt wealth above all else.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it seems now that when you go to church, I know that in psychology or even in sociology, there's a hierarchical system whereby when you even enter a social gathering, everybody measures themselves and know what place they
yeah.
are in society. But you see, in church, it's almost like I can never forget when I went to one of these churches one day, and they called a guest minister. And when the guest minister came out, he preached, or she preached, and said, she wants the special people of God, people that can contribute, donate 1 million naira to stand up and come out and pledge. And I
Yeah.
was just looking, and then she prayed for those ones specially. And then she now said those with 500,000 come out, pray for them specially until she now reduced. And then with the mere mortals that we couldn't contribute that one, we just stayed in the
You didn't get any prayer. Did you get prayer? Did you?
no, you stay there now, they'll pray for you where you're standing. You stay there. And I just felt some type of way about it because even in church, you find that like the more money you have or the more money you're ready to give,
Yes.
the more respect is accrued to you by even the man of God. And I don't think it's supposed to be so.
That's right.
That means the more money I have, I can even sway his decision making in some particular things. And I feel that a man of God is supposed to look beyond that.
Yeah.
But I was grateful because the real pastor of the church came and said that all the money that was contributed was going to go to that guest minister to take, that they're not going to partake in that offering. So you see that
Wow.
it's a balancing. There are some pastors that still know that this thing is wrong and they won't do it,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, like, I can remember when I just finished university that time. I came to Lagos, and my auntie took me to one church. Bro, it was night vigil. We went there, and the pastor, his preaching was he dreamt that God showed him he was going to build a house
Yes.
with orchard and peach and what's the name of that one fruit like that, one of these Yankee fruits with cars. And he was like, because God has said that, two other night vigil were held hostage to be
Oh,
contributing. So
oh,
he will preach, and then tell us to contribute. God will give us money, God will give us money, and then they'll contribute. When they check it, when the money has not reached anywhere, he'll come back, preach again, saying you're not giving. And I was just like, it
throughout
was
the
almost
night
like
vigil. Throughout the
throughout the
night
night vigil. throughout the night vigil. That was the last time I ever went to that church.
That's
Like
that's
we're not really getting anymore.
even if
So I,
that's turning in his grave to hear such a thing.
so I'm just like, a lot of things is said concerning tithes when your priority is about collecting. Give me, give me,
yeah,
give me. Now the
yeah.
problem is that there are some churches you contribute money, you build schools. The
Mm.
school that you have contributed money to build,
Your children can't go there.
people in that you cannot afford, and there is no sort of scholarship given.
Yeah,
There's something wrapped about it.
yeah.
I'm in a church in the Bible. During when the Christians used to gather money together, it was so that everybody will be catered to, everybody will be taken
In
care of.
fact, the priority was poor people first.
Yeah,
Poor people first. Then
yeah.
the taking care of ministers and probably infrastructure later. But poor people first. They always catered to the needy first. You know.
Everybody was taken care of. But the idea now is you go to church, they'll tell you to contribute money. After you contribute money, when you have problem there, they'll tell you to go and pray to God.
Mm.
I don't understand the logic there. I will have just gradually stayed at home with my money. And when the problem comes, I'll use the money to solve the problem and I'll pray to God and God will answer me. You
Yeah.
know? And you find out that when Jesus Christ was living, he was telling Paul, he said that if you love me, how did he say it? Or
Mm.
what I can just say is that the number one rule is love your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul. And then
Yeah.
the second one is love your neighbor as yourself.
That's yourself. That's right. Like just
There
do
was nothing
whatever you
about
want.
tithe or anything there. You
Yeah.
know, if you can love your brother, I'd rather when I get my money, whatever percentage I want to give, if I know you're in need, there are widows, there are people in need, I give those people.
Yeah.
Not a pastor that will be getting around that will use my money to go and buy bread.
Yeah. Well, since I am in the ministry now, and I know what it means for people to contribute to ministry. Usually, the idea really is this: that, for example, in Ibadan, where we're trying to plant Providence Reformed Baptist Church at the University of Ibadan, the idea really is we are trying to help people to appreciate the gospel, to appreciate Jesus, because there are lots of people who are very nominal Christians out there. I want them to understand the gospel. And then I know personally that when the Lord grabs a people's hearts, the Bible says, where your heart is, that's where your treasure will go.
That's where your treasure
When
is, yeah.
Yes, when the Lord grabs a people's heart and they know him, they love him, they will begin to put their treasures with him. And who is the person closest to the Lord? The person who is doing the work. So in Providence Reformed Baptist Church, we don't collect tithes. We don't collect offerings. Because already I work with government and I'm wealthy. I'm very, very senior person in government, all the institution. Very well paid. So I don't need anything. In fact, I am the one that is even helping people in church. However, I know that the time will come when the church would have grown bigger. And by that time, hopefully, we'll have people whose hearts have been won to the gospel. Then they will give to the church. And then out of it, we will take a first priority, the poor, the needy, Then we will employ a minister. Okay, we must get a minister. And then we begin to look at church infrastructure and all of that. Things like church building, those are long-term goals. The immediate thing really is to get people to appreciate the gospel. And when their hearts are with the Lord, they will give the Lord their treasures. Okay.
In addition to that, what you're saying,
Yes.
I believe that there are different people I listen to. I listen to a psychologist that says that what it means to serve God, that God wants you to aim up, God wants you to improve your life. I believe that when a church enters a particular environment and touch the life of people, and these people are, because I believe that when you improve, your surroundings around you will improve. If someone becomes born again, his family feels better. He begins to take on responsibility to take care of the people around him better. So you see that in a knock-on effect, when people around that see the effects of what Christ is doing in someone, they'll definitely want to contribute to that kind of cause because it's like the society is improving. So
Yes.
I understand where you're coming from, the fact that when your heart is with God, you understand.
Yes.
I think we need to just boil it down to the simple basics, whereby when you serve God, that's where your treasure will be. But before your treasure is there, they will see the effects in the society.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, and even you'll be surprised. The society will come together and say, "This we recognize this a local church where God's hand is there," and they begin to
Yeah,
even give it priority and to support it.
yeah,
You wrote in your
definitely.
article, and if it's about Nigerians praying hard, trust me, we are definitely on it. I know this firsthand because the church on my street doesn't let me sleep. Night vigil after night vigil, screaming to the heavens, singing at the top of their voices, kabashing, and worshiping like there's no tomorrow. I doubt there's any Nigerian who hasn't been subjected to this relentless prayer. If praying harder was all it took, we should be living in a miracle land by now. So I don't know whether you can tell us more about this prayer phenomenon. What do you think about this matter of churches in almost every corner of our country?
To me, it's just like you're saying there's church in every corner in our country.
Yes.
Meanwhile, look at the values of like our youth, or not let me just say our youth, all of us in the
Yes.
society.
Mm.
It's terrible because to me, if churches were really effective, we're not supposed to be where we are now. Do you understand?
Yes.
People are still corrupt. There's no place you enter. People are not even like sometimes it's simple things like you go to your place of work and you're supposed to be competent at what you do because
Yeah.
that's an act of worship.
Mm-hmm.
People don't do
Mm-hmm.
that any longer. Everywhere, any establishment, most establishments here, I can't say all establishments,
Yeah.
but you find out that there are some quite, at least more often than not, you enter establishments and there's always one comma, there's always one person that's not ready to work very well. It's
Yeah.
like everything here is like it's frustration. Everywhere is frustration, just incompetence alone.
Yeah.
So if what's the use of there being churches all around and then this prayer, I kid you not, there's a church on my street. I can remember when I went to, let's even leave the church on my street. When I worked in Abuja for years, a creative director for a company, media company.
Mm.
The house I was staying before I got my permanent accommodation, there were a group of boys that were like maybe 4, 5 boys that were next to us. All this face me, I face you.
Okay.
Every night they'll be shouting, they'll be praying. Every night they won't allow me sleep. And I was like, if I'm not born again, I will
Yeah.
never want to go to church because I
Oh.
despise those guys. And when I went to go and tell them about church, when I went to tell them that they were disturbing my sleep, my peace, they just felt that I should understand because they're praying. You understand? So that's to me, if the amount of churches, the amount of numerous churches around now, if they were really effective, Nigeria is not supposed to be where it is now. That's simply what I was saying in the article. Hello.
I'm sorry, Ayo, to attend to my son. He was trying to get my attention. I'm so
No
sorry.
problem. No
Yeah, let me
problem.
just go straight to to the last comment because we're drawing very close to the end of the program. Usually, don't want to spend more than
Okay.
an hour. You
Okay.
wrote here, if Nigeria truly has a spiritual problem, isn't it time we stop using prayer as an excuse to avoid taking real actions? Do we need spiritual leaders who prioritize righteousness over riches and followers who demand more than just sermons about getting rich? Do we need leaders like Elijah who would break long distance world records to escape the wrath of those in power when he points out their errors, or spiritual leaders who can call upon heavenly drone strikes to obliterate false prophet? Maybe it's time to get back to basics, faith and action, with a clear vision of what truly matters. Because let's face it, the last thing we need is to keep praying ourselves into another decade of chaos. The dollar to naira rate is now $1 to 1,500 naira. So the question that I really want to ask, if you wouldn't mind giving us some very practical tips, because here by the mercies of God, you're a child of two professors, and you didn't go into the academics. I know your younger sister went into the academics, so you didn't go into the academics. You went into the real world, creative world. I mean, your battle through this whole ups and downs of entrepreneurship life, is what you do that produces your money and all of that. Ayo, can you tell our young people out there how can they survive Nigeria? What can they do to survive this country?
I think first of all, most importantly, you need to take responsibility for your life.
Mm.
There is nobody anywhere coming to save you. Nobody. You need to take responsibility for your life. Don't be waiting for any government anywhere. You
Yeah.
understand? And I think when I'm saying take responsibility, I believe that the young people, these are young people of our generation now. When you learn to take responsibility of your life, you learn to take responsibility for a family, then you can take responsibility of the government and of the whole
Mm.
nation as a whole. You understand? There's nothing like prayer. If I'm given a project, right, to
Yes.
shoot so and so amount of episodes or write 260 episodes, no matter how I face the heavens and pray, if I don't sit down on my laptop and write those scripts,
It won't come.
I'm not going to, yeah, the project won't be executed. I'll meet my deadlines and I'm not going to get paid. And if I don't get paid, I'm not going to eat. That's it. I'm able to take care of my family. It's
Yeah.
simple. There has to be a bridge between praying and actions. And I feel that actions, that's what people love exercising faith when it's time to pray and do night vigils. But they don't like exercising faith when it comes to the working out of your miracles.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
understand? There are a lot of unbelievers. All the people that are the billionaires of the world are recognized to be the richest people in the world. They don't say they believe in God, but they
Exactly.
still have this wealth.
Yeah.
So you find out that it's not just about their principles in this world, like there's gravity. In the Bible, Jesus Christ says there's a passage in the Bible that says to who that the rich will be getting richer and the poor will be getting poorer. If you break that thing down to it, falls down to Pareto's principle, the 80-20 rule. You
Yeah.
understand?
Yeah.
If no matter where you are in life, no matter how bad it is, the way God has done it, they'll say if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you just need to take a small action. When you
Yeah.
take that small actions to improve your life, just start with what you have around you. You find out that things will be improving. And with time, everything either increases or decreases exponentially.
Mm.
If you're improving your life, over a while, it's going to increase exponentially, and you'll be very surprised where you reach. And if you are top, very careful because by the time things are going well for you and you start to do things in the negation, in the wrong way, you're just going to be like those kings in the Bible. You find out that drought, you suffer drought, and then your enemies will come out overtake you. And you
Mm.
find out that your life, sin will just I've learned this the hard way that sin can accumulate and then you find yourself in a hole that
Mm.
without the mercies of God, you might not be able to come out of.
Come
But
out.
no matter how bad things are, just start and do whatever is in front of you, and you find out that with what you have put, that's where faith matters. You know, a lot of people feel that when you want to walk yourself out of a situation, especially in our country,
Yes.
you need to do something big. But faith is actually just whatever small thing you have with you,
Yeah.
do it and see where it takes you, and you see how your life will improve.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I
I
think
agree
that's
with you
basically
completely.
it.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I have an article in my book. By the way, I the author of the book Humanity. You can get a
That's
copy. You can get a copy from Amazon. You can also
oh,
get in touch with me. We can get copies over to you. There are copies in Lagos for people who need copies. Then we have copies
no
here in
problem.
Nevada. And in the book, I talked about there's this article that I always like to get people to read. How no, okay, it's not how Nigeria. I'm trying to see it now. Um, I think it's I can't look at it. There's an article I was talking about how our young people can, survive this Nigerian situation. And basically what I was just saying is, look, sense of responsibility. Do whatever little thing you're doing, do it very well. There's an institution, Ayo, there's an institution that I have. It's not, don't want to boast, but I have almost single handedly created. And this is an institution that is going to lead to creation of jobs and almost change the total. But when we started it, I knew where it could go to, and I took it very seriously. We use Zoom to link up to big people all over the world. And we've been doing meetings for over a year. We will see
Hmm,
the fruit of it here in October. Hopefully, I'll be able to get the gentleman to come and talk about it on RNTV, you know. But I
oh, that's
saw
really
where this
nice.
thing could go to, and I said, and of course, being somebody who had helped to build it up, I am also going to be one of the first partakers of it. But if one is not faithful with a little, how will you be entrusted with more? So
Yeah,
that's one of the things. And then our young people should eschew this whole get rich quick syndrome. Should stop it. Go, one of the things, I mean, you should have realized it. Those of you who are in private business, you should have realized that God is a father. And the same way your father is thinking of your school fees, the clothes you wear, and things like that, that's the same way God is also planning things for you. He has planned that you'll be in a place for now. You know, don't be hoping and praying that, let me go somewhere else. Be faithful where you are. Before you know it, the Lord will open doors and you go somewhere else. You that you are staying in face me and face you, should be just talk to us about say, Omo professor, you know, staying in face me and face you. But you know what you came to Lagos to come and do now. You know, Adioe, my younger brother, you know, when he took me to the place where he first lived in Lagos. Ayo, do you know this shelf? Put this shelf, make it into a square. You know, the length this way. We both of us couldn't sleep in the same room that night. I had to sleep there. He went to sleep somewhere else. That was where Adioe was staying for many years. Adioe is a big boy now. My brother has like some 4 cars. But that was how he started. You understand? So, but if he was thinking, I mean, you know, things like that. So this get rich quick syndrome, people must stop it. God is very faithful. He's the father of all creation. He the person that feeds the birds of the air would ensure that the creatures that are created in his own image will ensure they are provided for. I want to thank you very much for coming to RNTV. You have a comment before we close?
No, I think you have nailed it on the head. I just want to say, like, you know, like you're saying, we'll all come a long way. I'm glad for where God has brought me to. But I've realized that this thing you're talking about, chasing riches, you can't find happiness in those things. That's why I see there are a lot of rich people, they're depressed, they commit suicide. Why?
Yeah.
Because they've chased these riches for so long, they're thinking that by the time they finally arrive or they finally hammer, that they'll be happy. But they now find out that they are not still happy, and then they're left with hopelessness. So it's a trap. And it's a trap that is being pushed in society, and some might have sitting in the church. So once you know that riches is not the game, I'm not me, I like money a lot. I like money, I like making money, I'm enjoying my money. But at the same time, I know that I can't find happiness in riches.
Yeah.
So once young people know that you can make money, but you can't find happiness there, I think it's even in the pursuit, it's the person you become when making that money that matters more.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Ayo, for joining us.
Thank you so much.
I hope that when next we call upon you, you'll be able to come and help us to fill up the space. Reform Nigeria Television, we discuss on religion essentially, but we also think that righteousness can exalt our nation. So we want to use religion to better the lot of other people. We're on break for so long. We were actually restored back through the Abel Damina controversy. And the position that my local church I take and my local church takes is that Abel Damina is not teaching. I mean, Abel Damina is pointing fingers on some very silent issues on religion in Nigeria, but he has so many doctrines he's getting wrong. And so because of that, we have changed focus for our teachings now, and we're looking at some core doctrines of the Bible. We started with the doctrine of God, and under the doctrine of God, we are now looking at the revelation of God, you know, starting from the beginning. We saw the revelation of God in Adam last week. Next week, by the grace of God, we're going to see the revelation of God in Abraham. Okay, and then we'll go on to the revelation of God in Moses, in Jesus, and in the apostles. That way, we want people to appreciate who God is, and hopefully, by knowing God, they can come to saving knowledge. And we also want to use the opportunity to encourage people to go to church tomorrow. Tomorrow is Sunday. Please go and gather with God's people. Worship the risen Christ and so on. Thank you again, Ayo, for being our guest. My shout out to your mom. I suspect you probably get to see this video, and to your lovely, your siblings. Where's Shegun now? She's the only one I don't know.
Where's Shegun? He's an accountant in Zaire.
Oh, he's in. Oh, wow, that's excellent. So, Shegun, shout out to you. I'm sure they're all grown up. Shegun and Tony, they were so small, so winning small. But
now, so all of them are organs now in place.
They're all grown up now. So, God bless them. Thank you so much. And shout out to everyone. Thank you very much. Please, we'll Reform Nigeria Television. We try to make it a date every Saturday, 7 p.m. we're here
Okay.
either with a guest or we're teaching a doctrine. Thank you for joining up, and God bless you.